Hello and welcome to Basic Music Editing, episode number 4. And it's been a massive 2 months since I last put out an episode in this mini-series. This episode will be not exactly about basic music editing. This episode is about how to set up your studio, or the closest thing you have to one. My desk is assembled as such. I have 2 giant speakers on each side, alright? That's left and right. And notice, see how that's angled off to the side? It's not pointing straight towards this camera right now. Same with this one. They're based on a triangle. I'm sitting in this chair with my head, somewhere in between the chair back and the computer. So my head's somewhere in this area. Now if you look up at the speakers, both of them are pointed towards this area. What this does is it brings the sound straight into your ears. Now, it would be better if these could have been down here, the speakers, on these, but I had this extra screen to go along with my laptop, and I couldn't fit all of that down there. So, this isn't the perfect setup, but it works. It works very well. That's one of the basics, the triangle thing. Make sure your head is part of a triangle with your speakers. Next off, you don't want to just listen through giant speakers. You also want to listen through a pair of headphones when you're editing. A pair of good headphones with not necessarily good bass, but at least they're not dinky little iPod headphones or something. They gotta be good. I'll give you a little lesson on just speakers too. Alright, so a few short things about speakers. I took the cover off of this right side speaker, and you can see that there's not just one speaker in here, there are 2. And in fact, I'm led to believe that this right here with the wires going to it is a 3rd speaker, a tweeter. Alright, so this is a very important aspect. When you're listening to music, you need to have good speakers. You can't have laptop speakers. You have to have something called a woofer, something called a mid-range, and something called a tweeter, which is that thing. So the woofer is the biggest. It beats the hardest. This is the one you always see moving, and that carries your bass frequencies, your lows. Your mid-range obviously carries your mids, and your tweeters carry the high. Another good thing about these speakers is that they have a port, so air can escape. But if you buy a good pair of speakers like these, you'll be all set. I'm led to believe that these have a crossover built in somewhere. A crossover is something that sends the bass frequencies only to this one, and the mids only to this one, instead of either speaker carrying all the frequencies. And it just helps the quality of the sound. A crossover does. If you have any questions about speakers, give me a holler. I actually bought these 2 giant speakers at a pawn shop for $28 together. It was a great buy, and I recommend pawn shops totally for this type of thing. And this stereo was from my grandmother. Hooray, because she never used it. Last thing about the screens. Okay, you notice I have 2 screens here. I have a 22-inch desktop monitor. Mommy paid lots for that. And then this nice little laptop, an Asus. When I'm editing music, I have to open up 2 programs. One program will go on one computer, and the other will go on the other. Just so there's more space and less muddledness. You don't have to cram everything onto one screen. And all I had to do this is I found one of the plugs for the computer or this screen, and plugged it into this laptop, whichever one I found that would fit. So it wasn't really terribly complicated. I knew that this came with so many cords, and I found which one fit into the laptop, so it's not that hard. Then obviously there's a couple of settings you have to set on your laptop to accept the new screen. Oh yes, and as you can see, I do have all my videos pulled up right now. Anyhow, please subscribe and ask questions, because I'll always help a good friend in need. Anyhow, have a nice day.